Hello, this is Lisa LaRose here on Connect to Love on PRN FM, and I'm joined by the amazing Michael J. Russ. I want to say hello, Michael.
Hello
How
there.
are you?
I'm doing awesome. I'm amazing today. Always.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's just fantastic. People look at me when I say that and they go, really? And I say, yeah, why not? What's the alternative? It's better than the
I
alternative.
agree.
Yeah,
I agree. You put a big smile on your face, and that was probably one of the things that you chose to do early on. I bet you came into this world smiling. If you asked your mom, I bet she'd say you were a very smiley, happy baby.
I was. I've seen pictures of myself as a baby. You know, when they took the pictures back then on the bearskin rug. You know, yeah, I got one of those, and I've got a couple others of when I was when I was born. It's really fun to see those kinds of shots, though, because you look at that little baby and you go, "That's me? Doesn't even look like me."
Sure, I'm sure the eyes are still the same. You know, you look at that.
Yeah, the eyes are still the same. You grow into yourself. You know, you just grow into yourself. And
yeah,
it's fun.
I know.
Yeah.
It is. It's lots of fun. So if you think back to when you were a little kid and probably maybe the first time you ever heard those famous words, what do you want to be when you grow up, little Michael? What do you want to be when you grow up? Do you remember what your answer was by any chance?
Likely, I have no idea. I mean, at the time, when I was little, I was playing drums, you know, but I never really had I never wanted to be a professional musician and have that be my vocation, you know, my right livelihood. But drums did give me a lot of confidence from the age of 7 in being in front of people on a stage, and helped me develop my focus when I was on a stage. So I was, you know, later on in life, you know, 50 years later when I did public speaking, I can walk on any stage and I know how to focus, focus on people. I don't have any nervousness. Know how to gather my energy and breathe right. I mean, it's a very comfortable place for me, and that's what that 7-year-old, 8, 9-year-old experience did for me in terms of playing drums. But it's something that comes natural to me. But however, it wasn't designed in my mind to be. I never got the impression I was supposed to, you know, travel with bands and tour and all that kind of stuff. You know, it's fun to sit in with groups as I do. However, no, it wasn't. How about you?
Well, I think it's ever evolving. I think when I was a early education, I went to the school for the allied arts, so I had drama and painting and French, and we got little gingerbread cookies in kindergarten, and I thought it was so cool, and I thought, I want to be a teacher, and so we had little school desks at home, and I played teacher. But then when I got a little bit older, I went to Catholic school, and I loved this one nun, Sister Palsy was her name, and she didn't wear a habit. She was just she was cool. She was like Mary Tyler Moore in the movie with Elvis Presley. She was just, she was a groovy nun. And I thought, geez, I really like to be like her. And I think what it was that I really aligned with was that she was so kind and so giving and so loving to everybody. And I think that sort of, I identified with that. And I don't know, when people ask me that question, I still don't think I know what I want to be when I grow up. But I think that I know part of my soul's purpose. And so I was speaking with you the other day about how we turn our soul's purpose into what we want to do and really align us on our path. And I was kind of playing with the idea of, like, you hear the words all the time about karma. Well, that's your karma. And people sort of think that karma is like a cause and reaction. And then associated with that is Dharma, which not a lot of people speak about. And that has more to do with exactly what we were speaking about, that purpose, what it is that makes us who we are, that inner essence that helps us find our path and what it is that we were supposed to do on this planet. And I would say that for me, and as kind of evolving more and more and more, and it's our connection to love. And love is part of my essence. And I try to express it however I can and use my gifts and talents and hopefully share that and contribute to the greater good. And I had been reading a book, and it said it's better to live your own Dharma imperfectly than to live another's Dharma perfectly. And I thought, wow, that's really true. How often do we, well, you should be this when you grow up. I see that a lot in individuals. Their father was a physician, and so, well, I'm going to go to school for this, and I'm going to become a doctor. Maybe not because that's really where their passion lies, but it's what's expected of them. And I think it takes a little bit of time to kind of discern the difference. Go ahead, please.
I think it's true. But I would say I agree with what you say there, and it's also we have a tendency to gravitate towards what we know. And if your father's a doctor, you know that. You know about being a doctor. You identify with being a doctor. And based on maybe perhaps visits to his office or interactions with people that he works with, whatever it may be, if something happened to you and his professionalism and capability of helping you move through it from a medical perspective. I mean, it's just what we know, right? I mean, if you grew up with a musician, likely you're going to have an interest in music, because that's what you've been exposed to. Or, my dad was in the Air Force, which is completely opposite. None of us wanted to go into the military when it came time to make those kinds of decisions. And although we had like a super ramp right to the Air Force Academy, it was just that as I tell people, my parents brought us up to be self-actualized and independent, and to reason and to think through life, and that's more freedom than the military offers. And so we were by that time too independent and independently minded to go into a structured situation like that. I don't think my dad was disappointed. Obviously we turned out, we followed our own paths, and which led to wherever we are, now, my brother, sister, and I. But yeah, in my view, I think I agree with you that about having, why you might, parents do pressure their kids to be specifically some kind of professional. In Asian culture, it's doctor, lawyer, accountant. Those are the big three, right? Especially doctor or lawyer. They want you to be a doctor or a lawyer because in their culture, doctors and lawyers have the most respect. They garner the most respect, and they make money. Doctor, lawyer, and so they push, and interestingly enough, not everybody wants to be a doctor or a lawyer.
Right.
I have a good friend. His great-grandfather was a Chinese herbalist, and from China that moved over to south of Sacramento in the River Delta, and during the 1800s, and he had a shop with all this herbal medicinal stuff. He was a herbal doctor, and knew all that stuff. And his family became a family of dentists. His son became a dentist, and his sons became dentists. All three of them became dentists. And it was a father and three-son practice.
That's fantastic.
And they loved dentistry. They had a love for dentistry. I had breakfast with his father before he passed when I was in Hawaii about 25 years ago. And what a wonderful man he was. And I played golf with his dad and golf with a couple of the brothers. It's interesting because sometimes I come at this from a different angle, which is Dharma, your life purpose, your soul purpose. You have that, which is a great concept, by the way, and I really do love it. And sometimes you get this, you kind of divine what it is that you're supposed to do. I'm just like you, by the way. I still don't know if I'm exactly everything else.
Right.
I've been doing something for 40 years, and I'm like, I don't know. I'm still looking for the thing I'm supposed to be doing. I've got more insight now to what my soul's purpose is, and what's interesting, and I know you'll agree with this wholeheartedly. Whatever it is that your soul purpose is, we in this earthly plane think of right livelihood as something we do to earn a living that helps pay for where we live and gives us the freedom to go do what it is that we want to do, that sort of thing, and to put food on the table and all that. And that's the way this earthly plane, our society frames it, right? That's why you're out there doing that. So the unfortunate side of that is that people who don't follow that protocol, that societal norm, so to speak, that pathway, tend to be labeled as outcasts. When I have a lot of admiration for anybody who decides that they just want to, that those things aren't important. What's important is that they're following their own intuition. They're going from here to there. If their intuition tells them to leave this place and go to that place, they go to that place. And a lot of times what it is that we think we're supposed to do, it has nothing to do with. It's not for the reason we think. It's not for the reason of, making a living, getting the house with the white picket fence. That's just ancillary. The real reason is connection. It's people. It's who you meet. It's who you're supposed to meet, who you're supposed to help, and who's supposed to help you. It's the greater mission, based on love and kindness and gratitude and forgiveness. It's that kind of story that really has nothing to do with, a doctor seeing patients. It's not being a doctor. It's who you encounter as a doctor.
And being of service, I think, too.
Being of service, correct. It's like completely different. And you go into I've been in sales for 50 years, and it's not what I sell. It's the people I encounter along the way, and that I befriend, and that I help solve a problem, and it's how I frame that. Sales really isn't it. And by the way, Glenn Brooks hated the word sales.
Yes, I agree. Actually, I think it was his birthday. Just either the other day, one of the other days in December. Yeah, he was a December baby. I don't remember the exact date, but I'll have to look it up. But yeah, no, you're right. He and Glenn really exemplified somebody who I think was ever evolving in what he wanted to be when he grew up. Truly, he was always encouraging people to live a vibrant life and to follow. What would you do if you knew it was impossible to fail, was what he said. And that sort of echoes with the Dalai Lama. And he when he talks about Dharma, he said the purpose of our lives is to be happy. And that, to me, is the golden ticket right there. What is the purpose of your life? To be happy. I want to be happy. And Goldie Hawn used to say that all the time. What do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be happy. And I think a lot of times we kind of sort of think, well, I've got to do the right thing, like you said, get the right house, get the right stuff in to put in the house and look a certain way, but doesn't really bring us contentment. And you keep trying to fill those vacant spots, and you just feel more and more empty because you're not really living your Dharma. I have a good friend of mine who, when he was younger, was kind of like a troubled youth and sort of found his way. And he was an extremely talented artist. He and I did a collaborative painting together, and it was lots and lots of fun. And then he picked up the camera, and he found out that he was really a magnificent photographer, but he didn't really want to do it for monetary. So he went and became an electrician, and has been a really successful electrician in the union and whatnot, and just still feeling empty. And so he went overseas and did some healing work and studied a modality, but that still wasn't what he wanted to do. And so guess what? Just this year, he thought, you know what? I think I want to be a police officer. And he has been interviewing. He has had an opportunity to join this 1/4, And it is just lighting him up from the inside out. And it's so exciting to see that. And it's not that he doesn't have all of those other talents and all those other gifts that he can rely on. But again, he wants to be of service to others. And he wasn't, perhaps as an artist, he wasn't fulfilling that in the same capacity that he is going to be able to do as a police officer. Yeah. And a lot of people have said to him, "Are you crazy? Like, why would you want to do that? Why would you want to hassle every day? Why would you want to put yourself in harm's way?" The only thing you can say is, it's part of my life's purpose. He feels happy at the thought of it.
It's true. And what we were talking about last week, don't listen to other people. If you have an inclination to do something, just, go do it. Develop when your energy is solid, then you can tell people, that you're doing that. And the more solid your energy is, that surrounds your purpose, the more that you're resonating with the frequency of being a police officer, and you've gone through steps and the motions, and you're along that path, the less somebody else's opinion will mean to you, the less weight you give to it. But it's interesting because when I think of something like that, with this particular gentleman's story, I think that there's, in my view, there's somebody specific. It's not this general, I want to help people, be of service. His path may involve a specific encounter or two or three with someone. And that, what I do is I keep an eye out for that. That's my perception of what I'm doing is that I'm supposed to encounter someone that I can help in a very, very loving and kind and empathetic way and compassionate way. And you never can tell. You'll get done with your life. You go up, you have your life review, and you go, you're going, hey, I did these great things. I saved this person from in their burning house, and I helped these dogs get to where they needed to go, and I saved this, and I did that, and I stopped this crime, and before it happened, and blah blah. And he says, yeah, but what about that woman that was, crying on the bench that you sat next to, and you consoled? Mm-hmm. And you're going, what do you mean? What do you mean that? That was normally, you said, no, hang on a second. That person that was on the bench that you helped, you shifted their life in an entirely new direction. The person they talked down from it could be a person that they talked down as a police officer from committing suicide. It's, you never can tell, but it's the joy for me is in actually going through my life with that possibility in mind. It may be the person that I encounter that checks me out at Target that may be off in terms of mood, and I'm able to shift their thought, shift their thinking, elevate their not only their attitude but their mood, give them some sort of purpose, help them understand the purpose of what they're doing, and how you never can tell what the outcome will be from the connection. But if there's nothing else that I've learned, it's that it doesn't matter what you're doing. You're thinking about the 3D world. The people that come to that particular person are thinking the things that they're describing are 3D world circumstances. That's what that are surrounded by. That are actually the gravy of them is fear and doubt. That they're feeding him, this diatribe of 3D that has this that's surrounded by fear and doubt, or is driven by fear and doubt. That's the reason why they're actually saying it. And he doesn't have that. It's not the fear and doubt that crops into his head when he thinks about being a police officer and the danger and harm's way he may get into. It's the people that he helps. And that one person in his life that he helps and shifts them, and they're helps them accomplish their ascension. That's the best way, I guess, to put it. Is that we in my view, we all have that somebody that we connect with, that in some way we help develop a relationship with, or we help them in their own ascension, their own process of soul learning, and that's the reason why we're here. One of the reasons why we're here. So for me, this show, you, me, our unscripted show once a week is no accident.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing that I've done, any other podcasts or any article I've ever written or any book I've ever recorded, none of it's an accident. I don't see it as the end-all, be-all, this makes me a millionaire kind of thing. That's not what it's about. It's about that one person that listens to it, that gets it, and then shifts their life in a direction that, again, is in alignment with their own happiness, their own joy, and allows them to focus, to find out what their Dharma is.
Mm-hmm.
And really to get out of the 3D world, to get out of their head, to get out of the fear, the worry, the doubt, the frustration, to get away from that, and now focus on the core of what it's like to really be happy, and let that flow into everything that they do. There's all kinds of things. My mind can go nuts when it comes to thinking about. Yeah, somebody says.
No, you're right though. You're right though, Michael. I mean, I think that there's a curiosity involved in it, and I don't know, for whatever reason, when you were speaking, and I kept thinking about Joseph Campbell, follow your bliss. So if it were like, your life is sort of like the rings in the center of a tree, or even if you look at your fingerprint's unique, and it's kind of got these swirls, and it kind of goes around, and then you've got something around the outer edge, and then another one, and another one, and another one into ad infinitum. And it's amazing when you think about that. And I think about, like, Leonardo da Vinci was a polymath. He wasn't just an artist or a scientist, or he was so many different things, an inventor. I mean, just off the charts. And he would write upside down and backwards, and it was so interesting, and to be able to look at how he would write. And a very good friend of mine, who I've asked actually to come on the show with us, actually had me do that exercise many years ago. He would write upside down and backwards, and and with the opposite hand that you write with. So I'm right-handed, and so I would write, and in the beginning it was just almost like chicken scratch. But as I got better, I got, faster and faster at it. And it was really quite amazing the way that I could tap into a part of myself that I didn't even know was possible. It would have said, oh, no, you know what, that's just not possible. You can't do that.
Thinking of, it reminds me of Vimala Raj's handwriting expert, who came up with her own alphabet with each specific letter following a personality trait. And she would say that she said, look, use this writing system I have with this alphabet, specifically form every letter with your left hand, your non-dominant hand. And I did it a lot. And what she said was that it really opens up the creative side of your brain. So when you're stuck and in need of moving forward, you have either an issue or a challenge or whatever, or you just want to be more creative, writing with your non-dominant hand can really help your creative side of your brain get unstuck. I guess.
So true. Yeah. So true. Could you imagine if somebody asked her when she was a child, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to become a handwriting expert.
Yeah, really.
Right? I mean,
yeah, really.
But look at how many lives she's changed because of that, right? It was completely outside the box.
Absolutely. She's helped people, teachers all over the world, kids all over the world. She's made a dynamic contribution to happiness and love and compassion and learning all around the world. And everybody wants to make that kind of impact. And the beautiful thing is, we are when our head is in the right space. When we are, we're keeping that mission in the forefront of our mind when we're going out and connecting with people.
Right.
So people, it's not about you. It's about who you connect with.
Right. Well,
even this happened to me.
That, Michael, because I was going to say, it seems like such an obscure thing for you to connect with on your path. So maybe you can share with the audience about how that evolved and what it was that you gained from that connection that opened a new doorway for you, because I'd love to hear about it.
Which one?
About how you connected with Vimala.
Oh, Vimala. Oh, yeah. Interesting. Oh, that's an interesting story. Yeah, I happened to be. There was this great bookstore back in Sacramento, California, called East West Books. They had one in the Bay Area. They had one in Sacramento, and it was a metaphysical bookstore. I bought all the books that I have in my library at that store, and I used to go in there. And when I designed some note cards, they used to carry them. When I designed some angels, my angel designs and stuff, they carried them. They had people who worked in there at the time. They were, psychics. They had tarot reading. They had a lot of different things, and they really had a lot of cool stuff. And I looked at one of their flyers one day when I went in there, and it was for a workshop, 3-hour workshop with Vimala Rogers, PhD. And she was the author of the best-selling book, Your Handwriting Can Change Your Life, and Change Your Handwriting, Change Your Life, who she published, by the way, with Hay House.
Oh, wow.
Hay House, yes, she's a Hay House author, and still is, I think, as a matter of fact. And I bought both of those books at the store, took them home, read them, went to do her 3-hour class, befriended her, and she, I did the exercises and followed the protocols. And I will tell you, the first thing that I changed was my signature. She took a look at my signature, and she said, "This signature is not you. This is not who you are." And I said, "Really?" She says, "Yeah, because I can read somewhat the first name, but then I can't read the rest of it. And each letter has a purpose. Each letter has a meaning, right?" And so in her books, that's what she documents. She documents and lays out not only a handwriting method. In other words, there's 24 letters in the alphabet, and she has a system for the way that letter should be formed. And there's ligatures, which are 2 letters that come together, like AI or PI or BI. And these ligatures need to be, when written in according to her methodology, they have a meaning. They have a specific meaning behind each thing, and it's fascinating. And I changed my signature, and I went to the bank. I changed my signature card. Anywhere my passport, anything that I needed that I had signed. My driver's license, I had to go get a new driver's license, and I was very proud of it. And I still write that same signature today. It's an ingrained part of me. In other words, once you change a letter, the way you write a letter, it impacts your mind in a way that and changes you mentally, where to this day I cannot go back and replicate my previous signature.
That's incredible.
If I attempt to do it, there's this complete feeling that goes through me of this isn't right. I'll form the M, and I'll go, I can't do this. And the other one comes out. The other signature comes out. It's just so natural. But that's what happens. It changes you mentally. So somebody who is experiencing fear or worry in their life or whatever can adopt this method, and they can literally straighten all that up. You can become more successful. You can become more confident by simply changing the way that you form each letter. And she goes very deep into the meaning of your own name, the letter of your own name, the first letter of your name, and why you have it, and what traits it has, and all of that. But it's really amazing.
It is. It's fabulous. And Michael, it couldn't actually be more perfect. I think your guides align that because your signature is an expression of who you are. Mm-hmm. And she looked at your signature and she saw beyond that expression, and she said, "No, that's not the essence. That's not your Dharma, Michael." I mean, and it's funny how you look at that, but your essence is really who you are, and your expression is how you write your name, how you dress, how you show up in the world, but it's your essence that is your calling, your Dharma. That's who you are. And probably, and I'm just guessing this so you can confirm it or not, but that as your signature changed and you came more comfortable in the essence of who you were and rewrote the reason you could not write your name the other way is because you weren't that person anymore.
Gosh dang it, I was just going to say that. That's true. I'm no longer that person.
Right,
every day.
I get it.
And the beautiful thing is, this is the beautiful thing, and whether it's handwriting or something else, in my view, we evolve by default unless we do it with intention. Each one of us is going to, 8 billion people plus people on this planet, we're all going to evolve. The beauty of what we talk about on this show, what I talk about in my own podcast, what the books you read, other things, are all telling you, hey, it's when you partake of this information, you are literally gaining the opportunity, giving yourself the opportunity to program your own progression in life, your own evolution. You take one thing from what we say, you apply it. You're not the same person again, because now you're applying something completely new to your life. It creates new feelings, new thoughts, new paradigms, new everything, right? Opens up new portals to doing things. Law of attraction, you're going to attract different things in your life because you're doing something different. And I've always been a big believer in progressing through life with intention. That's how I approach my health. That's how I approach my relationships. I'm always looking for the reason why I'm where I am, and what new piece of information can, as Rumi said, there's something I do not know, the knowing of which could change everything. That's the way that I live on a daily basis, and it's a lot of fun because it makes life fun. Instead of getting caught up in the 3D world of what's happening in politics or this thing going on over there or somebody having an argument or whatever, family trials and tribulations, dysfunction, chaos, instead of focusing on that, you focus on what's the one thing I can learn today that I'm going to be exposed to that's going to shift my thinking one more degree, that's going to shift who I am one more degree if I apply what I've learned. And you can do that. To me, that's living life with intention. It's focusing on, and it really, in my view, can help you become more in contact with your purpose, and also help you focus on making happiness your goal. We all have happiness. It's not something out there, but it's when you're actually living life with more intention, the intention to be happy, to be grateful, to be forgiving of yourself, to be compassionate and empathetic towards yourself and other people, and loving, most of all, then you something happens. It's like, you have this control, this sense of confidence, the ability to, in my view, tap into your intuition at a greater level. And I don't know what my purpose is. Heck, I probably got 5 purposes, right now that I know of. And I'll just pursue one here and one day, and the next week I'll pursue another one, and another day I'll pursue another one. And, it's just, it's fun to live that way, and it's fun to not have everything be completely and totally planned and worked out for you.
Yeah. You're right.
Some people are afraid of that.
Yeah, I don't think it's a straight line. I mean, I like to think of it in my world as probably a spiral with a couple crisscrosses. Go back to the points that I had those moments of joy, and sometimes you'll think, oh yeah, I really enjoyed that, and then you go back like 10 years later and you're like, oh, that was fun, but I'm done, and I'm ready to learn something new and grow. Yeah. And I think that's a big part of your finding your Dharma, that it's about growing, and you're never in the same place twice. I mean, it might look like the same place, but it's never the same.
No, because you're not the same.
You're right.
No, you're not the same. I love that statement, by the way. I mean, it's true. You're never in the same place twice as the same person. That is correct. That's a fascinating concept to wrap your mind around, And even if you go back to somewhere, you go back to the same circumstances. You say, well, I wish, this is why the statement to me, the statement of, I wish I was back then there. No, what? You wish you were that person back then, or that lacking in knowledge to that degree back then? I mean, what do you wish for? And what people are doing is, in my view, they're saying, I had less challenges, I had less fears, I had, life was simpler for me. I didn't have to make the decisions I have to make today. And I'm going, well, if you're upset about that, then get in touch with your guide and develop more intuition, develop connection with your non-physical self, non-physical being that's with you, and you're not going to be alone making that decision.
Right.
Pretty amazing.
Right.
We talked about that a lot, but that's an amazing thing when that happens.
Well, and I think all of those obstacles that you've overcome, they help you become the person that you are. Even if you went back to do the same event over again, or you had an embarrassing moment, it taught you resilience. It taught you courage. It taught you that you could overcome something that really wasn't important. There was a study done in the 1980s at Dartmouth University, and the study actually fascinated me because they had a group of students who they wanted to put through the interview process, but what the glitch was, they said they would paint this massive scar that kind of went all across their face with makeup, and then they would have them do the interview. And so these students that participated in the study, right before they went in, unbeknownst to them, the makeup artist would basically wipe away the scar so there was no scar. And it was so fascinating because they asked them afterwards, do you think that the scar impacted? Oh, yes, absolutely. It impacted and they felt that they were judged for this scar that they had across the face that was actually non-existent. And so, but I think about that a lot in regards to our own perceptions of ourselves, and perhaps it's the things that we perceive that are keeping us from finding that true essence, finding those things, that it's something that we have, maybe it was your 20-year-old self that, accidentally, you split your pants and you didn't realize it. You're walking around, right? And,
I've done that one.
I did that at a fancy event with a dress. I had bought a vintage dress, and literally the thread just disintegrated on the back of the dress. And of course, it couldn't have done it at the top. It had to do it near the bottom. So I was standing against a wall. It was quite comical. But
your opportunity to display resilience.
It did.
Yeah.
And I laugh about it. I mean, it was something that was not devastating. I mean, the whole thing didn't fall apart. That would have been probably a lot more traumatic. But I think too, when you do overcome those obstacles, it does help you find that superpower within. That you find that you're not. I don't know. Maybe you're getting closer to things that really make your heart skip a beat. That you really put a smile on your face, that when you are assisting somebody else, like you always do, you're always paying kindness forward, that it just leaves you lighter and brighter and eager to do it again. Yeah.
People are surprised when I care about how they feel at any given time. When I walk in, some people, it's like in their life they've come to not expect people to be kind. And I get this a lot from young people. There's a lot of young people working in our grocery store, and I'll come in. It may be their first job, whatever, and I come in and I put my stuff down, and they start to ring it up, and I'm like, hey, I look at their name tag, and I say, hey, Stacy, how are you? And they sometimes they look at me like, how do you know I'm Stacy? For breathing. And I go, oh yeah, I got her name tag. But I'll catch a name tag quick. if I just get a split, a hundredth of a second to see the name tag. And it's so nonchalant. They'll walk by me and say, hey, Bob, how you doing? How's life? And he's going, it's really good today. It's really good. And I'll do it so quickly they won't even know that I actually used their name. They'll resonate with it. It'll resonate with them, mentally. But from a 3D perspective, they won't even recognize that I used their name. And I love doing that. I love, counting people and, again, leaving them better than the way that I found them. But a lot of people aren't really. It's something. It's the antithesis of what they're normally encountering, and so sometimes they are surprised. Sometimes they'll look at me and go, "He's conversing with me. What am I going to say here?" And it's like you can see this quandary come over their face, and they just keep doing their job. Keep doing their job and stuff like that. And sometimes, it's people get suspect. I've had encounters with people where just being friendly with them they're suspect about it. And I think to myself, well, let's hope that I might have put a dent in that mindset of being suspect. And because I'm here and I'm gone. I'm here. I flutter like a butterfly. No stinging like a bee, just fluttering like a butterfly. And then I'm gone, and I leave you thinking, wow, that was a beautiful butterfly, and then you move on. That's really the goal. That's really my goal.
Well, that's probably part of your early on being a drummer, that you never really would miss a beat. And you could jump in and harmonize with other people, and that's sort of, I always joke about the fact that I'm a Pisces, and I sort of have to go with the flow, but I'm very good at swimming because there's two fish going in opposite directions.
Right,
so
exactly.
I'm good either way. Like, you want to do this, great. And you don't want to do it, that's great, no problem.
Yeah.
Very
that's so
rarely.
true. Life was a lot less interesting. In Da Vinci's time, we were talking about Da Vinci earlier, he obviously had a benefactor. Back in those days, you had to have a benefactor. However, his time was his own. His thoughts were his own. He could sit and focus on something all night with no sleep. There were no major demands on his time. And we live in a different era today where someone's always making demands on your time. And I've come to understand, especially when I wrote my first book, on how valuable having quiet time is. To just say, you have 5 hours. I would tell my wife at the time, I said, I'm gonna go write for about 4 hours, and that's just going to be 4 hours, and I'll be done. And I knew that I had the ability to just sit there and just, allow whatever it was that was going to come to me at that particular time, come to me with no interruptions, at all. And it's nowadays, again, there's a lot of demands on your time. People are, and it's like information. We live in an information-centric world, and you have to literally shut that pipeline of information and breathe and relax. And I think in my first house, I had a friend who had divining rods. And she said, take these rods and find out where the best energy in your house is to meditate or to sit and think, or in a particular room, the room that you're writing in, find out where the best energy is so you can be there. And that's what I did. I went through the house and I found the energy areas, the areas of greatest energy, up in my office, in my bedroom, and wherever it was. It was really rather cool to actually do that with divining rods, because these things do actually work. And so I would write and I'd meditate in those spots that had the best energy. And
that's great.
Yeah, it's like it's a shame when you have to be when you're confined to a particular space and you don't know if that space is really has the energy that is contributing to your getting done whatever you need to get done, or connecting with you energetically, in some way, positive way.
Yeah.
And it's
I just saw a post about this detox cafe, in Amsterdam, where you detox from your devices. It's a device detox, and so everybody leaves their devices at the door, and they just go and they be, and they're back to that connection, that human connection. And I think you're right, Michael, that if you had that time and that space away from all the distractions, what could you create? And I when you mentioned Da Vinci before, I thought of Michelangelo, and when he would look at this big piece of marble, it still fascinates me how you could look at a piece of marble and then take a chisel to it and chip away and see what lays underneath all of that amazing rock, and how it could become his David. I saw David. It was so smooth and polished, and I think I couldn't even. I think when I was a kid, they had to carve something out of a bar of soap, and I just couldn't even do it. But it's a lot like that essence that's inside of you, right? You start chipping away at it, and as you chip away, I'm sure the first cuts that he made in that marble, it was like that was a big piece of marble to be quarried back at that time. They didn't have the big equipment that they do, so. No. To make a mistake and have something, make the wrong cut and then have it all fall to pieces. I couldn't even imagine how many practice sessions did he need with that. I don't know, but he certainly didn't have any devices to be distracted with.
It would have been nice to have been a fly on a wall in that circumstance.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
An eyeball in on how that kind of thing was done in those days, and where did that art disappear to? Who's carving in that kind of thing in marble today? It was an era, it was a time where I saw the Pieta before it was put behind 3 foot
behind glass,
50 feet back behind bulletproof glass. In 1970, I saw it, and at the Sistine Chapel, and you could literally. You could walk around it, and you could get your eyeball within inches of it. It was a wonderful, wonderful thing. And then the next time I saw it, because 2 years later, a guy whacked the finger off, and it's all over. Fun's all over. Let's repair this thing and put it back as far as we can in this room, and let's put 3 feet. And you're looking at it. It's like you're looking through Coke bottle glasses.
I got to see it through the glass too. It would have been nice to have been able to do what you did, walk all the way around it.
That's the time. To me, it's a metaphor for the time we live in. That there was a time where you could trust, and you everybody, and then there's as soon as one thing happens, everything gets shut down. Everything changes, and that era no longer exists, and you can no longer to do that. I think I haven't seen David, because that's in Florence, I believe. Right?
It is in Florence. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've been in Florence.
And there's so many. You look at that one piece of art, but there are so many incredible pieces of art in Florence. It's just, and in the Vatican. My jaw dropped when I walked through the Vatican. I couldn't even. There was so one more beautiful, and the Sistine Chapel was gorgeous. However, I thought that there were many, many other rooms that were equally as breathtaking.
I agree. I agree. 100%. Michelangelo did a great job on his back with that ceiling. First time I saw it, it was probably smoked up about, I'd say, 75% smoked up, and the second time I saw it, it was totally cleaned. So that was like a 30-year span, 35-year span between seeing it smoked up and not. But listen, there's so much beauty to be had, even in your own backyard. Sunrises and sunsets still fascinate me. And you know what fascinates me this time of year? The stars in the sky. I live in a place.
Yeah, I agree.
I live in a place where when it's humid, you don't realize how the humidity in the air blocks your view of the stars. And in the wintertime right now, there's no humidity. And you go outside, and the stars, you can see constellations. Orion comes up now out of the east, and I just love it. I'll go out I would go out. I would get a new puppy, and I went out. I was going out initially a month ago at 3 a.m., 4 a.m. to let the puppy out to go to the bathroom, and it was peaceful, it was quiet. Owls are hooting, and I'm looking up in the eastern sky, and I'm seeing these planets and constellations, and I'm like, I walk, and I'm not looking at I'm walking the dog, but I'm not paying attention to the dogs. I'm paying attention to the sky and how beautiful it is, and how, I'm just, I don't know what it is. I love the stars. I love the constellations. It's fascinating to see these planets follow their easterly to westerly route every evening, and it's just it is fascinating to know that. I mean, we're just, and when you start to think about it, we're little in the universe. We're just in the galaxies. We're just a grain of sand on a beach. I mean, we're nothing. We're that insignificant in relationship to the billions of galaxies that exist. And when you hear that, you're going, wait a minute, that's an interesting perspective. We've got 8+ billion people on this planet. All of us have the ability to think and reason and to make choices, to love or not, to be grateful or not, to be kind to someone or not, compassionate or not. And you and I talk about it all the time. The shows connect to love. Why not choose love as the path of not only your perception, but your actions? I mean, that's the best way to keep love flowing, is to, in my view, have the intention to think and act from love, and then basically see what happens. Just put that energy out there. Keep putting it out there, and not get caught up in the third dimensional reality that wants something from you, that seeks something from you, that gives you this diatribe of you're not good enough, you need this, or you're not fulfilled, when we all really have the ability to get out of bed fulfilled. We have the ability to get out of bed and go to bed fulfilled. You think about that for a second. That concept. No,
it's so true.
Yeah. One of the things I should tell you, we talked about Glenn Brooks and how he started this whole journey, and I had dozens of conversations with him. I'd have an hour, 2-hour conversation with him every other day on the phone. And he was such a visionary. He was so disconnected from the 3D world that it amazed me. Yeah. He was into his visions. He was somebody who actually taught me that you could be that way all the time. You didn't have to participate in the 3D world to the extent. Now, he went kind of overboard sometimes because, you and I, it's a balancing act. It's a balancing act. You're on a high wire, and you have the ability we straddle this world. The world of the 3D on one side, and we have the world of the metaphysical on the other. And we can float between the two easily. Glenn was somebody who was always on the metaphysical side. In my view, that's where he was, and it was vision. It was creating a feeling. That's what everything was about. That creating the feeling, and that's what I learned from him. And the beauty of it is that I do more of that. I've woven that into my own existence, and I encourage our listeners to do the same thing, because it changes everything about us.
Yeah. Yeah, Glenn would always make time for a sauna or a massage or body work and good food and volleyball, and he would just really do everything that he could to be light and happy and share his joy and share his gifts with other people. Sometimes, as you said, to his detriment, because he some things he didn't navigate through with very well in the 3D world. But I think the greater message was that he really encouraged everybody to express their true selves. and to dig and find that. What was it that inspired you? And when I did the show with him, my show was called One Wisdom, and that was really the essence of who I was and still am, that there was one wisdom in natural healing, that the body could heal itself if given the right support. And I still live that way. But I think as you find what lights you up from within, it's just like, wow, you gravitate towards those activities and you become more and more in harmony. And that's really what the Dharma is. It's about that sense of joy and peace and purpose and connecting with that essence. And, when you spend time, Michael, like that, I would say that the stars are part of your Dharma. They encourage contemplation for you. They allow you to be mindful. They give you just a quiet feeling of thoughts. And wherever it is that your thoughts emerge into insights or messages or whatever it is, it's your inner voice. And I think that that's a beautiful gift. And then you just follow your heart from there. And as Shakespeare said, to know thyself, to thy own self be true. I'm probably not saying it exactly correctly, but it's been a while
since I said that. What can you say? We know the essence of it, but the word essence is really interesting. When it comes to purpose, the essence of who you are. We I don't know, I guess we take it for granted a lot. Somebody who's wrapped up in being a professional, one thing or another, a doctor, a lawyer, CPA or whatever, would say the essence of who they are is wrapped in that cloak, okay, of that right livelihood. And when we discover that we have that it is, on the face of it, not really the reason why we're doing it, that realization can create a shift, and you can get, because people do that. You think like, I'm here to save lives. That's what I do. Firefighter. I save lives, but it may be that I'm fascinated by the occurrences, the occasions to be of service to another human being through that capacity as a firefighter, right? Or as a policeman, or as a salesperson in a store, a person who a sales professional. You're going to need something. At some particular point, you're going to need a house. You want to live in a house. You got to find a house, and the person who comes to you and has that as a realtor and actually helps you find the perfect energy for you, the perfect energetic space for you, and that's what it is. It's not I find houses for people. No, you find spaces that are filled with the energy that resonates with you. That's what I do. Mm-hmm. And it's just a way that you phrase it, a way that you frame it, that makes it deeper in terms of understanding and energetically. It's a different way to describe what's going on. I have an update, though, which is really interesting. I had talked in the last 6 months, a year, about a gentleman who I know I'd spent a lot of time on the phone with, who was conflicted and having some issues and beating himself up and doing all these things. And I spent copious amounts of time, copious hours, helping him understand that he's creating the reality that he's living. And what's really interesting is that he's in a completely different place now. He has taken it to heart that that's what he's been doing, and he stopped doing a lot of things that involve beating himself up. Yeah, he's great. He's door dashing. He's got a part-time job at the airport. He's basically in command of his own existence, right?
Wonderful, reclaiming his sovereignty. Fantastic.
Not only that, but he set a mission to be. He used to be the mosquito control commissioner here. And I'll be quick about this because we only have about a minute left. And bottom line is, he put his name on the ballot, didn't invest a dime of money, and won. He beat this guy who beat him last time, and he didn't spend any money doing it. I said, "Congratulations, man." I said, all you have to do is have have faith in yourself, set a goal, set a mission, believe in it wholeheartedly, unabashedly, and it can come true. So
that's awesome.
He's awesome, and we can all experience that. We just have to frame our mind in a different way. But this is always a fun thing. This hour is always fun, and thank you.
I know. Thank you, Michael. I mean, it's one of the things that makes me feel alive, really, truly, when we connect and share this time together. Really, I leave our times together and feel like I'm radiating joy, and I have a big smile on my face, and it makes the rest of my week just so beautiful and pleasant. So thank you, and thank you to all of our listeners, new and old. We want to welcome. We have some new ones from Japan, which is exciting, and China, and as well as South Africa. So, and all of our other listeners that have been joining us, thank you so much. It's always a delight, and thank you for allowing us to live our Dharma.
And grace you with our presence.
Yeah, absolutely. Until next time. Thank you.